Love Lessons, the show where healthy couples come to share their wisdom from the lessons they've learned in love. We discuss everything from money to parenting to social media, and don't leave out stress and sex. Go get your pen and paper because class is now in session. Come catch your blessings. Welcome to Love Lessons, hosted by Trey Kearney. Ooh, tonight's going to be a good night. Tonight's going to be a good night. Hey, welcome to Love Lessons. I'm so excited about our guest instructors tonight because they come to instruct. And you know how I know? Because they're two of the realest people that I know. So I'm going to tell y'all now about Darrion Smith. If you are weak, soft, or get your feelings hurt, you might want to hold your edges. I'm just saying, because he comes to snatch edges sometimes, and I'm used to it, but you might not be. But Anita will balance him out. So welcome, Darrion and Anita Smith. How y'all doing?
We good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm so glad to have y'all here. So we just gonna get started right now. But I just want the people to know that I've known Darrion and Anita throughout their whole marriage. And I'm gonna say Neat, because I can't even say Anita. I ain't never called Anita her whole entire life, and I would be real fake and phony if I did that. And I'm not about that life. But anyway, I've known Dee and Neat I've known Neat since she was 11, and I've known Dee throughout their whole entire relationship. But I don't know some things about them, so I'm gonna learn some stuff tonight too, and I'm excited about that. So let's get started. So the first thing I love to ask all my guests is, tell me about your blueprint. Tell me about your relationship with your mother and your father and how you were raised. And ladies first, Neat.
I come from a two-parent household, but a stepdad. My real father was not involved in my life, so I don't know him at all. But I was raised with a mom and a stepdad. I have step siblings, 6 of them. So it was uneventful. We've, has definitely had some life traumas. But for the most part, I grew up in a two-parent household. My grandparents I always saw them in a healthy marriage. I had aunts who were aunts and uncles who were married and still married today. So I've seen examples of healthy marriage, and I've seen examples of unhealthy upbringings in my family.
Awesome. Come on, Dee.
Let's see. So my parents, they've been married now 59 years.
Woo!
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be 59 years this July.
Woo!
This June. I'm sorry, June.
Don't get in trouble.
June 6th, yeah. There'll be 59 years this June. It's just me and my brother. So, we grew up in a normal East Orange two-parent household.
Okay, that's awesome. So let's talk about deal breakers in marriage. Is divorce ever an option? And let me just ask this. This is a little bit of a twist on the question, because I've asked the previous couples, were there deal breakers? What were their deal breakers? Were there deal breakers in the beginning, but now that you've been married, how long have you been married? I'm sorry.
We've been married 18 years as of March
18 years.
Yes.
You're right.
Okay.
18 years. And we've been together for 23 years.
And together for 23.
She wasn't sure.
I had to make
Get
sure.
that right. Get that right, girl. Don't get in trouble like you told him. So at the beginning of a relationship, we usually have deal breakers or non-negotiables. Did you have deal breakers then, and did those deal breakers ever change into the longevity of the marriage?
I think we definitely had deal breakers. In the beginning, both of us we were more guarded, I think, with just ourselves and our hearts, because we had both experienced some, for me personally, I had experienced some bad relationships, a bad marriage. So coming into this relationship, I knew what I did not want. So I came with if you come with this, and this, you might as well keep on going, because we're not going to be together. So I was just direct from the beginning. And I think, Darrion was too.
Yeah, I was definitely. And it's a weird deal breaker, but the deal breaker for me was we were going to be the only two involved in making decisions in our marriage. I was previously married, and there was always a third party involved in decisions that were made. And I said I could never do that again. So I was real, Neat's mother had a hard time with me when we first met, because I was like, let's do this. And I'm like, nah, we're not doing that, because it wasn't my idea. because my first marriage, I was in a situation where a mother-in-law or a cousin or somebody else made decisions in my marriage, and I was like, I would never allow that to happen to me again.
Come on now. I hope, listen, class is in session. If you just tuned in, you're tuned in to Love Lessons. We're here with Darrion and Anita Smith, and they are dropping gems already. And we only been on for 5 minutes and 17 seconds. Listen, you can't have other people in your marriage. You cannot. And I've heard this several times. And if you are not willing, like he said, to let me lead, and you have to get it from somebody else, then we're not going to be together. So has some of those, go ahead, Neat.
And I was just going to say about him leading, that was difficult for me in the beginning, because although I saw it with my parents, I had been in a relationship where even though I was married, he was not a leader. So it was like I was kind of making the decisions to, pay the bills or take care of the household and make sure that the household was okay. I was that leader of my first marriage. And then after that marriage, because it wasn't well, I got into other bad relationships. So I didn't really have any examples of leading. So my mom helped me with everything. When it came to my kids, I was a single mom. So when we first came, it was a little challenge to just let him take the lead and be that leader. So that, that over time, it took some time for me to kind of understand that that's the position that God has ordained for him. I wasn't thinking biblically prior, but in this relationship, I knew that God had to be the head of it all in order for it to work.
Come on now, you got to let the man lead. And one thing I got from what Neat just said, and I listen to them, and I have 2 other best friends who are married. I listen to them because I see the fruit of their marriage. And one thing she said is that she had brought some baggage from her previous relationships. And we got, ladies, I know y'all be mad at me because I'll be on y'all. We got to stop doing that. We got to stop punishing. And I just posted something like this. We got to stop punishing our new man for what our ex-man did, or he's going to end up leaving too. So I'm glad you said that, because that needed to be told. You wanted to say something, D?
Oh, no, I was just that men have baggage too.
Oh.
So men come from past relationships and they also have baggage. So it's not just a woman thing, it's a man thing. You have to realize I don't like giving advice, but the only advice I give somebody is that when you and your partner make decisions, make sure that you're the ones who are making the decisions. Because at the end of the day, you're the ones who have to live with that decision. It hurts more when somebody else makes a decision for you and it turns out bad, rather than me making my own bad decision. I can live with my own bad decision, but I hate taking advice from somebody else and then it doesn't work out. Now I'm pissed because I didn't listen to myself or do what I thought was best for us.
Listen, y'all coming up in here hard and fast and hard. Listen, come on now. That right there, we can end the show right there. Men have baggage too. Men hurt too, ladies. We gotta understand. Men have feelings, and there's some things going on with them. Thank you so much, D. That was just a whole sermon right there, and we could end, but I got some more questions. How do you guys handle finances? Because we know that most marriages end because of money and then infidelity, but most marriages end because of money. How is finances handled in your home?
Well, for us, when we got together, first thing, one of the things we did is we sat down and we made a list of all of our bills. At first it was rent, now it's mortgage and bills, car notes and all that. And we totaled up what all the bills were. And so then we split it in half. So every payday, everybody puts a portion of their payment into the joint account so that we can pay the bills with.
Woo!
And, whatever's left is yours. That's your wham, your walk around money. But, so we equally have responsibilities.
But I have to say, too, that there are times where, one contributes more depending on whatever situation we're in, and that's never an issue. So just to say, like, for us moving here, I took a different job with a different salary, so here, Darrion contributes more to our household than I do, and it's not an issue. He does that with, without hesitation. but again, it's our arrangement, that we
Wow.
make. We don't allow anybody else to interfere with how we manage our money and our finances.
Wham. Walk around money.
Money.
Never heard
Yeah,
that
yeah,
before.
And I like my wham.
I like my wham. I need my wham. I got
Yes.
to take that to the next relationship with me. Excuse me. If there's no wham involved, no sir, no ma'am. We're not
Right.
doing this because we're gonna need the wham because I'm gonna need my walk around money.
And I also have to say that it's our money. Like, even though we each contribute a certain amount, I would say that it's ours, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's
ours.
our, what's his is mine, what's mine is his, so there's nothing that either one of us needs that we don't have each other's back ever. So, we take care of each other always, no matter what it is.
I love that. I love it. So we hear the word submission in our vows, and we're in an era right now where so many women hear the word submission, and they're like, "I ain't submitting to no one. Whoa, submitting? What? And why you? We're just in a different time right now. So when it comes to submission in your marriage, how does that work for you?
I think. Let me start. I think over time we've learned each other.
I just don't think you can go into a marriage saying that you're going to submit. Submission comes with trust.
Yes.
So before she can submit to me, she has to be able to trust me. So I have to do what I have to do as the man of the house, as the father of the kids, as the grandfather, as whatever. I mean, so in my opinion, before you can submit, you have to be able to trust the person. So it takes time. Like, we were together 5 years before we actually got married. So that trust built over that 5 years. So by the time we were ready to marry, she was ready to submit. But submitting is not like you do the dishes, you do that, or you do this. Submitting is saying, okay, you're the head of the house, and I trust you with the decisions you make. To me, that's submission.
Goodbye.
And we discussed
Bye-bye. I'm leaving. I'm back.
And although, he has my trust 1000%, we still discuss every decision. He doesn't, we never make a decision, great or small, without talking to each other about it, without discussing it, without, running it by each other to see, would this be the best solution? So yes, he does make all the decisions, but we discuss everything. Not, he's the head. He leads this family. He leads this house. He leads our lives.
Because two people aren't going to agree on everything. There will be some disagreements, but she trusts me enough to know that if I say, okay, well, no, this is what we're going to do, she's going to pray that it works out, and she's going to trust that I made the right decision. And if I don't make the right decision, she's not going to come back and say, see, I told you so. Okay, next time we'll do it different. So, yeah.
And I think too, sometimes, if I ever feel strongly about something, there have been times where he'll say, okay, we'll go. Like, we know each other enough to know when who needs to be able to make whatever that decision is, depending on what is happening at the time, or what we're dealing with, or what we're discussing,
But I'm Team Petty, so if she's wrong, I'm gonna let her know.
Oh.
Yes, he will.
He said, I'm Team Petty. I love it. Listen, I told you we shouldn't have did that. I told you.
I
let you.
For $50.
But we ain't gonna harp on it no more. We're gonna let it go.
I love it. So speaking of that, let's talk about fair fighting. When there's a disagreement or something going on, how do you fight fair, or how do you deal with anger within your marriage?
I laugh because I don't like getting angry. Neat doesn't get angry. Like, I don't. We've been together 23 years, married 18, and I think she's been angry at me maybe twice that I can recall, truly angry. And one time I didn't even know about until a couple of months later. So yeah, she doesn't like to fight, so we don't argue. Like, she'll walk away, and because I know that, I won't push it. Because I like to argue, but I'll say stuff like that's hurtful, so I don't. Like I'm the person who, if I argue with you, like I can hurt your feelings and you'll want to physically fight me afterwards. So I don't bring that to my marriage. I try not to.
I don't think you've never, we don't argue or fight. We just don't. We try to, for the most part, we have been upset with each other. But I think one thing we established a long time ago, years ago, was that we just wouldn't go to bed or,
No, I'm not going to say that.
We've gone to bed, but
angry.
We try not to go to bed.
We try not to. We've gone to bed angry, but we don't believe in sleeping in another bed.
So you could be teetering on the corner of your end. Mad.
If you mad at me, you stay on your side of the bed. But I'm not leaving my bed. I don't believe that. So
right.
Ain't nobody leaving no beds.
Nah. You stay right there, back turned.
You could be mad
teeter on the end.
Yeah, teeter on the edge. Don't touch me.
Don't come near me.
But don't leave.
But you better lay in his bed.
Yeah.
Don't leave his bed.
Probably count on what? Maybe not even two hands. How many times we've been upset? Like, you know what I'm saying? Throughout the 23 years, we just don't.
Nah,
we don't.
I love it.
But then too, it's not because we're perfect. It's because we've had previous marriages that we came from, and we had things that we've said that we're not doing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So there are certain things that I'm not doing that. I'm not arguing with you about this. I'm not fighting with you about this. So, and that's just came from experience,
past experience,
learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think we've just learned each other well enough to know that we don't have to fight. If he's upset, I'll walk away as opposed to arguing back, because I can argue back, but what does that solve? And at the end of the day, I don't think anybody really hears the point if you're yelling and screaming at each other. So my solution is always to step away from the situation, and he's had to step away and I've had to step away. And then it may not be till the next day, but we always discuss it and resolve it. Like, we don't drag it out for weeks or months or anything. That next day, maybe 2 days later, depending on, what it was, we always discuss it, talk about it, whether I felt hurt or he felt hurt, or, we resolve the issue so we can move forward and keep loving each other. Because loving each other is a choice. It's a decision that we make every day to love one another.
That's a whole greeting card, girl. That's a whole Hallmark greeting card. You gotta write that down.
When you live you live with somebody, so you're not gonna always get along, but it's a decision you make every day to love your spouse, to support them, to push him, as my king, to push him to be the greatest that he can be, because I know it's gonna benefit our family and us and our relationship in the long run.
I love it. This is so good. See, I told y'all I've known them since they've been together. I've known Neat when we had boy bodies.
Yes.
So we've known each other for a long, long time. But these are the intimate conversations that help us. And I said the same thing when I interviewed another friend, that throughout these years, I have never, and me and Neat are really, 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 really close, have never heard her say anything harmful against her husband. I have never, ever. And I have friends and associates that, talk mess about their man. I have never heard her disrespect him to me so that I would feel some kind of way about him. Mm-hmm. And of course, we have girl chat. Girl, he got on my nerve last night. But I've never heard her say anything disrespectful for me to dislike him or for me to feel some kind of way about him. Even if it might have been going on in their house, I would never know, because she has never made me feel like I wanted to turn against him for a conversation that we've had. And I love that, because I've had some people in my life who have said things about the man in their life and expected me to be around that person and to act normal after you've built a case against him, but then you're still with him, and I'm supposed to be like, oh, right. So I'm supposed to like him? I'm supposed to like him now after you told me that. So I just appreciate that about her as a woman. I appreciate that about their relationship, that I don't have to sit here and fake and twist my lips like the Instagram posts, it's fake. But when they go home, they fighting with each other. So I love that. I love that I can have this moment. So let's talk about opposite sex friends. So how does that work in your relationship? Because people think that they can have opposite sex friends, and some people think that that's taboo. So what do you guys think about D having women friends and Neat having male friends?
I think if it's a female friend of his and I know about it, and vice versa. So I don't feel threatened by him having female friends because first of all, I trust him. I trust that he's gonna, not step out on me. So I don't worry about that because I've never had any feelings where I think he's gonna step outside our marriage or he's, made me feel like he was seeing other women or, doing something with a friend that's a girl.
Right.
Any friends that he has that are females, is this my wife, Anita, he may talk to them. He has a coworker who's a friend, and they talk on the phone all the time or have conversations. And I never, ever feel any kind of way, because I could step inside, walk in the room while he's talking. There's never been any signal. So I don't have really any issues with it because nothing is done in secret.
Nothing is done in secret. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. D?
It's pretty much the same thing. I'm quite honestly, we really don't have a lot of opposite sex friends. I don't know if that's by design or it's just the way, but yeah, like the female friends that I have are family members or coworkers or her friends. Like I have some friends from the past, but it's not like I hang out with a bunch of females or I know a bunch of females that I would hang out with. So that's never really been an issue with us.
Oh, good. Okay. I love it. Love it. That trust is a strong thing. And I just feel like sometimes when people can't have, female friends, male friends, is because a boundary has been crossed somewhere along the line that made the spouse feel uncomfortable or the girlfriend or the fiance feel uncomfortable that they would have to say that. Let's talk about blended families and children. So I know that you came into the marriage with 2 children, Neat, and I know sometimes I don't want my own kids. Can I be real with y'all? 3 kids. I'm sorry. 3. Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes I don't want my own kids. So when you come in and you have 3 children, you have a choice. Like, I don't want to be bothered with no kids. So how was the transition into coming into a relationship and blending families?
It was rough in the beginning.
Yes.
I didn't push myself. I even told him, you don't have to call me dad. You can call me D. Like, I didn't care what you called me. And I'm not like, I'm not here to take the place of your father. I'm just here with your mother. One of the things like me and my brother used to always say is, you don't have to like me, but you're going to respect me. And so we were big on that. So, but it was rough in the beginning. But I think as they got older and matured, they realized that I wasn't trying to do anything to hurt them. I was just trying to help them. Like some kids not some kids. Our kids, like the youngest one, liked to stay up all night and watch TV. And I was like, you need to go to bed at a certain time. You're only in the 3rd grade. And so that was our battle for years. Like I would take the TV out the room because she would try and sneak it on. So it was just stuff like that, putting boundaries in place.
Right. And so, I don't think we ever had any issues like, like you ain't my father, like they were always respectful.
Yeah.
So I don't think they were ever disrespectful, just normal kid stuff. But I'm sure as a step parent, it's probably a little more challenging because, you kind of walk a line. Can I discipline? Can I not?
Talk about that. Yes.
So
I think it was harder on her mother than it was on me because there were times where she would hear me chastise the kids or yell at the kids and, she would get upset. But it would be because, you hear me yelling at the end of the day, but you didn't see the other 10 times that I asked them to do something that they just flat out ignored me. So when you hear the yell, you missed everything that led up to the yell.
Right.
Because I'm a yeller. When I get upset, I yell and scream. So that's coming out like getting upset. I don't like getting angry because everybody can't handle that. So.
I love that transparency, though. I love because people like to act like Black folks don't yell.
Right.
Beat their kids.
Nah. I yell, scream.
Mm-hmm.
When I get upset, if I come in the house, if I told you to do dishes and the dishes wasn't done, I would flip. Because when I grew up and my mother was a teacher and she got home at 3:15, the dishwater might have been draining out the sink, but the dishes were clean.
Come on now.
Because my mother would like don't have no dishes in the sink when I get home. And so I wanted that same thing, but it was hard for them. I guess coming from me telling them, okay, you need to take the garbage out. They would take a paper plate and stack it on a can, and it would teeter, but it wouldn't take the can out. And I couldn't understand that thing. So that was the type of issues that we had.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say flip. No,
I will flip. At the beginning, I flipped.
Yeah,
I've matured over the years.
Yes,
I no longer. I'm more mellow and calm now. Yeah. I also learned. I used to also say that I ain't gonna let y'all kill me.
I ain't gonna let y'all kill me. You know why I love this? Because I just want people who are going into blended families and step families to understand that I believe this. I believe D treats all children the same, because he had interactions with my children. Like, you'll go sit yourself down. So Trey, you better get him. Like, I don't know what y'all do around here, but this one right here.
Times where I was like, I think I've said it more than one. Like one time, because they were kids going through, it was teenage years. One time I said to him, I think, if you want to just leave and go, like, you could just, you remember that? I was like, you could just go. Like, I don't even want to put you through this. You know what I'm saying? I was feeling bad, because, they were doing stuff that teenagers do, we know now, but, it was just like, I don't even know how you stay, like, you don't have a nickel in the quarter, and, you know what I'm saying? So I even offered him, like, you could just go, like, listen. It's gonna be okay, And his response to me was, "I'm not going anywhere."
I cussed.
I love that. Oh my goodness!
But
what kept you when you had that out, D? Like, when sometimes you just need an out to get out. When you had that out, like, oh, this is my get out of jail free card. What kept you there as a stepfather? Like I said, I'll be honest. Sometimes I don't want my own kids. I'm like, I gotta have these kids, but what kept you?
Their mother.
Oh,
I love their mother. And her aunt said something years ago. She said, "Don't let them kids break you up." She said, "Them kids will grow up, get married, and leave the house, and y'all will still be in the house arguing with each other about the kids." Aunt Clara told us that.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I took that to heart. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna let y'all little, break us up.
Right.
Yeah, because you'll be gone in a couple of years, but we'll still be together. And that's what happened.
Right. And that's what happens to a lot of couples. Their children will sabotage your relationship. Yes. And again, be 22 years old, pack their stuff, leave. And ladies, listen up. You'll be sitting there by yourself. Kids ain't gonna like nobody.
And the kids
they don't want to share the love. They don't want to share mommy. And I'm just glad D is a strong man and that he stayed, because there's a lot of men that would have been like, you know what, this is some BS.
And not only did he stay, but he stayed and he helped parent.
Yes.
And he stepped in as a dad. So because their father was absent, he did the hard things that the dads would have to do. That's harder on the moms to do. So, he stayed and he was a dad. He was a father and a husband, and and he continued to parent even in the frustrated times that we had. It wasn't all frustrating. Our kids aren't bad kids. Right. We have beautiful young ladies. They've grown up to be beautiful young ladies, and they've always been. But they did teenage things, and all teenagers gonna put their parents through the ringer. It's inevitable. I did it to my mom. He did it to his parents. They do it, but when you're in that moment as a parent, it could be challenging, especially when you have a blended family.
Right. And speaking of blended families too, so many times we think of blended families as just the kids. How was it blending your family in a whole? Mother-in-law, auntie, friends. How was that transition when we're so used to, like, meets my friend, here come this dude, who is that? Like, how was the blending process of everybody?
I think we were blessed in that because we both have loving families. Mm-hmm. Neat's family, like, they love you.
Yes.
So yeah, and I'm blessed because my family is the same way. If y'all together, we love you too. So we were blessed in that. So we didn't have to deal with, in-laws or cousins who didn't like each other, you know, just on the strength that I was with her, they accepted me, and my family was the same. I think.
Yes, from day one.
Yeah.
From day one, it was acceptance. I've never felt out of place. I've never felt unwanted or uncomfortable around his family, and I don't think he has either. You know, so that has been a blessing in our relationship and our marriage, because it just helped that transition to enter into each other's lives on a deeper level with the support of the families.
Mm-hmm. They say marriage is 50-50. Is it 50-50?
Nah, it's 100-100.
So, yeah.
You both have to give 100%. You can't just get 50%. You both have to be all in. So no, I don't believe in 50-50.
Okay. This is another question. Is a level of jealousy normal in a marriage? Like, we have people who, and I'm gonna tell you this about women because we so stupid. And I'm sorry, ladies, I don't mean to call us stupid, but sometimes we could be stupid, right? We want our man to be jealous when another man looks at us, right? It gives us a certain sense of, oh, he's jealous. Look, he feels some kind of way. Is there a normal level of jealousy in a relationship?
Is there a normal level? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Should there be some jealousy in a relationship?
I think yes. I think that there will be some. I can give you a perfect example. Remember when y'all used to go to Delaware?
Yep.
Every year y'all took pictures with what's my man name?
Oh,
the models.
Oh, with
and I saw
Miguel.
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 I know Miguel. All right, whatever. But I was like, yo, don't take no more pictures with him.
Ooh, I don't want you smiling.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all too hugged up too much. Now nothing was going on, but and I'm gonna tell you what happened. What happened was somebody saw the picture and they was like, oh, your wife sure is hugged up with him. Another woman did that.
I didn't know
that. Yeah, and I was like, pfft. So I said something. Now, had she not said something to me, would I have said something? I don't know.
Wow. And
oh, was it? No.
She was like, who told? They had a whole hotel. I was like, I don't even know. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I don't know. She saw something on social media.
Probably on my page. Probably on my page because I post everything public. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna start hiding stuff now. Folks is surveillance.
No, it's okay. But no,
I know it is.
You say, is it normal?
Yes.
Yes, I think it is normal. If you see your mate with somebody else and they look too happy, there's gonna be a little switch inside. Nothing can be going on. Can be happening. But you should, because you want her, so you would think that somebody else want her.
Oh. Woo! Somebody is dropping diamonds, jewels, and emeralds tonight. So I love your transparency of even having that conversation of, yeah, I saw her with an old boy and was like, nope, that's not what we doing no more because I don't like it. Let him to hug on one of the single girls because you got a whole husband at home. So keep your hands to yourself.
And I think I've had a moment with him too, where coworker was, a little too touchy-feely. And I was like, yeah, right. And I was like, I don't appreciate it. And she shouldn't be touching like that, and even though I knew that he wasn't interested, it was still that jealousy. Cause I'm like, why you smiling up, at all? Like you smiling a little bit too hard, back off. So, the instinct is there, but the trust is also there, so even though I trust, we're still human. So we react to the situation.
Yeah. One of the couples said, before you guys, she said, it's not my husband that I don't trust.
It's the other people.
I got my eye on her. Exactly. And I told him, it's not you, but that one.
That was my thing, because I knew it wasn't D, but I'm like, you're doing too much, So again, it's the other person, because I trust my husband.
Yeah, I love that. You better. Did you just touch his beard? See, listen here now.
Excuse me.
Did you just stroke his beard? Now listen.
I didn't. I just.
We on live now. We know y'all empty nesters. And how is that being empty nesters now?
It's awesome.
It's awesome. We were empty nesters for 10 years, and then our daughter came back home with her babies, and we helped her, nurture them and helped her get on her feet, because that's our child. So we are always going to be supportive. But that was a challenge. Not so much for our marriage, because at the end of the day, we know, who we are and what we have together.
Going from empty nesters to 2 toddlers in the house,
yeah,
two babies in the house is hard.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
So,
I'm over 50.
Yes.
So having a 3-month-old and a 2-month-old was
2-year-old.
yeah, sorry, 3-month-old and a 2-year-old.
It was a challenge.
Stressful.
Yes.
For 2 years.
Yes, go ahead.
But we survived,
Yeah.
and now we're starting to enjoy our empty nest again. We're starting to be able to.
You almost forgot what it was like.
Yes.
Just that fast.
Yeah. Just to be able to kind of connect with each other on a different level, and now we're back to that reconnection that we had before, our daughter and the boys came home. Ooh. So it's nice because it's like we're getting to know each other again over the last few months. We're spending a lot of time together in the evening, just doing what we did, prior.
Wow. So, that's big. That's big, because once they go on, I'm not saying we don't want them to come back, but it's a lot.
But you don't want them to come back.
I want them to go spread their wings, go fly, go be free,
And I say it's all karma, because I came back a couple of times as an adult.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah. So it comes back around.
And you had it right.
There were times, after my first marriage, before my first marriage, I had to go back home and stay with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good stuff right there.
Right. And I just know that I was supported in those times. So we will always support our children in those times.
Yeah.
Yes. So I know this might be a little touchy subject, Neat, but I asked you guys at the beginning, was there anything that was off limits?
Nothing's off
limits. But okay. So anywho, I know that you came from a situation of domestic violence. Yes. Right. And I just always like to bring this up for those who may be going through domestic violence or have gone through and have lost hope in finding a spouse that can actually navigate through that with you. How was that process of, one, trusting a man and triggers for you, Neat, and D, for you, trying not to have those be that trigger from what she had been through, and hearing she came from a domestic violence relationship? What does that do when you hear that?
Want me to start?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was hard in the beginning because I didn't trust any man that he would not take advantage of me on some level, because those are the types of relationships that I had cultivated over the years, even outside of the domestic violence relationship. But because I was in that domestic violence relationship as my first real relationship, every other relationship afterward had some sense of violence or abuse, I should say, not violence, just abuse. So I didn't trust men really, which is why I think when I first met D, I was like, if you come with this, and this, you might as well keep going, because I'm not dealing with that, but he didn't. So it took a minute to kind of let my guard down. I always knew that I wanted to be in a healthy marriage. Like, that is something that I have longed for since I was a little girl. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have kids. I wanted to have the house. Those are the things that I desired outside of my career. And I just knew I wanted to be in a healthy marriage. And I didn't have that. So I was hesitant. But over time and with trust, I was able to let my guard down in those moments where I may have had triggers, because again, D is a yeller. Like he said, he is a yeller. So, for me, instantly it was a whoa, but I think over time I just learned to trust that is who he is. Like, with certain things, he doesn't mean any harm. He has my best interest at heart. Times when I do, he understands that, and he has compassion and empathy for me. So he helped me to be able to overcome the triggers that I had probably in the first 5-6 years of us being together, just of not being sure that I could trust him with my whole heart, and that no matter what came with me, the good, the bad, and the ugly, that he would not abuse that in me.
D.
I think because I knew that she had issues with first marriage, that was one of the reasons why I didn't do a lot of arguing or I didn't do a lot of fighting, because I knew she would close up because of it. She did sit me down one time. I don't know if you remember. She sat me down right after we moved on to Hemlock, and she told me that sometimes I get angry, and she said that scared her. Now, I had never put hands on her or never acted like I was going to, but again, like, I get exciteful and I yell and I scream when I get excited. So that's another reason why I think I kind of calmed down, because I knew that bothered her and that was a trigger for her.
That is so good. Yeah. I love this.
He's
Go ahead.
Say he respected the journey that I've been on, and even in the tough times, he nurtures me. When I like the song by India.Arie, he heals me, he knows the real me. That song is true. His love has healed me, has helped me to heal. There are other avenues that I took to heal. I went to therapy. I've done the work that way, but he's helped to heal me. His love has helped to heal me in that sense. So I'm no longer a victim. I no longer consider myself a domestic violence victim. It is something that happened to me, but it's not who I am.
Oh, don't make me cry. I'm trying to hold myself together.
Yeah.
Thank you, D. Yeah. Let me say thank you as a best friend. Like, thank you for just loving her and holding space for the rest of us and the rest of the women who have suffered from domestic violence. For somebody to hear this tonight, to know that there's a man out there that's waiting to heal you, waiting to help you in your healing journey, and to be able to walk you through it, and to be able to sit down and have that hard conversation of that yelling and you're angry and it scares me. So let's talk about the hard conversations. For those who are listening, there's so many women and men who are headed down the aisle right now, or who are in marriages that are not flourishing because they're afraid to have the hard conversations. What would you say to those people? Because marriage consists of hard conversations. What would you say to those people who are ignoring their feelings and just suppressing and not having those conversations?
It's not healthy. It's not. You can't go into a marriage not being able to have a hard conversation, because this is you're making a commitment with your partner for the rest of your life. I don't plan on being with anyone else. So we got to live this thing out together. We have to learn how to live together. We got to learn how to work together. We have to learn how to manage together. We have to learn how to stress together, all those things. So yes, you have to have those hard conversations. If you don't, it will bottle up. You won't. To me, it's just, you're not living your authentic self or being in your authentic relationship. If I can't tell him that, something is difficult for me, or he can't tell me that something is difficult for him, we're not being authentic to one another.
Ooh-wee. Come on, D.
If you can't talk and be honest with the person that you're with, then you don't really need to be married. Because it's a lot of hard decisions. You do make decisions. I can't even explain it.
Just have to be able to talk.
Yeah, you have to be able to talk to one another. Not talking, not just about bad things, but also what are your goals? What are your plans? What are you going to do in life?
Yes.
Because a lot of times people get married and they don't even know what their partner wants to do 5 years from now. Like, do you want to stay in the city? Do you want to live in the burbs? Do you want a house? Do you want to stay in an apartment building? That stuff matters.
That stuff matters.
Because I watched my parents when I grew up, and I watched my parents, like I said, they've been married almost 59 years. I watched my father go to work every day, You know, he was good with his boys. He always in programs, always doing things. But there was always a communication between my parents. Like they always talked. Don't want to say I never saw them argue because I've seen them be upset and mad with each other. But you know, they always worked it out. And that's what marriage is. You don't quit on it. You have to talk about it. You have to work it out. So it has to be somebody that you like and someone that you respect, first of all. So,
and you have to have the same goals. You know, we knew that before we got married. We talked about what we wanted. You know, what do you like? Okay, we want to buy a house. We want to travel. You know, what do you like to do? So those things we had to be compatible with together. We had to be, you know, on the same page, or it's like, I'm over here because I like to go snorkeling, but he likes to play golf and I hate golf. What is something that you can enjoy together? And there's nothing wrong with having your separate hobbies or your separate likes. But as far as your goals and dreams for your life, what that consists of, you have to be on the same page. You have to want the same things. You have to go after the same goals. So we knew we made a plan, you know, and we started working towards that plan. Because again, we both had baggage, right? We both came from baggage. So neither one of us were perfect when we met each other. We're not perfect today, but we weren't in the greatest of places, financially, employment wise, any of that when we first got together. But we knew we loved each other. And I think for us, that common goal was we both had goals that were the same. We both knew what we wanted in a marriage, in a relationship, in our dreams, you know. So together, we put our heads down and we started to begin to work towards those goals.
And I've seen them come to fruition.
Yes.
I've been here to witness. I'm a witness. That's all I'm going to say. I'm a witness because we in the church. Go ahead, D. You was going to say something?
Just that, no, I forgot.
No.
It's okay. This conversation is so good. If you just tuned in, you're tuned into Love Lessons, and our guest instructors today are Darrion and Anita Smith, and they have dropped some real gems on how to maintain, sustain, and remain in a healthy relationship. Is there ever a time to call it quits?
For us?
For anybody listening.
Why?
Right. I mean,
why are you quitting?
Right. So it would have to be something like egregious, you know. Right. But for us, it's just not an option. We don't even.
I joke all the time, say I put too much time, effort, and money into this model, so I don't want a new model. I want to keep the one I have. Like, yeah.
And it's the truth. We've invested in each other. So, you know, it's not just about love. It's also, marriage is an investment in each other, in our time, in our finances, in our, you know, in our hearts. We invested in each other. So, you know, again, it would have to be something super egregious for, you know, for me to just walk away and not come back. Or to say that I don't want to be married to him anymore. I can't see myself not married to him.
Whoa. I can't either. I can't see myself not married to him.
Just don't
over here. I just wouldn't be right. It wouldn't sound right if it wasn't D and D.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be like a whole problem for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you guys see yourself in 10 years?
Hopefully retired.
Yeah.
That's our next goal. Just retired and traveling and enjoying each other and
enjoying the grandkids.
Enjoying our grandkids. We really enjoy them. You know, I think that has brought us closer as a couple and as a family. So I think just seeing, you know, how their little lives take shape, seeing how we can be a positive influence to them. I don't know. I guess just continuing to do life, thanking God for, you know, blessings every day and seeing how he wants us to be of service to, whether it's our family or, you know,
retirement and travel.
Retirement and travel. That's right.
I love it. Yes. What would you say to a couple that's just about to walk down the aisle? Like it's June. There's a lot of marriages getting ready to come up in June. What would you say to anybody listening right now that date is coming?
Be careful who you take advice from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a hard time taking marital advice or listening to someone who hasn't been in it longer than I have. Like I can tell you what to do wrong. I can tell you what not to do. But the ultimate, it's whatever decisions and choices you make sure they're yours.
Right. And I think I would agree too. We don't take any marital advice from anybody who isn't married as long as we have. I'll listen to, people's opinions or, just what people have to say. First of all, I don't discuss anything in my marriage. Like if I'm having a problem, I don't discuss that with everybody. I'm only going to go to someone who I'm seeking wisdom from. And who's going to help us learn, figure out how they were able to manage through that trial and get through and still continue to grow and love one another. So I say, be careful who you take your advice from.
And be careful who you share with, too.
Yes.
Everybody doesn't have your best interests at hand.
At heart.
At heart, excuse me. Where I work around a lot of women. And one thing I've noticed is that I listen to a lot of women talk bad about their husbands. At one point, I went to my wife and I was like, yo, do you talk about me when we have issues? I'm like, I hope you don't talk about me the way that they talk about their husbands. Because I hear, and so this is another man hearing what another woman is saying about her husband. And I'm sitting there like, damn. Like, if I knew my wife was saying that, I would be upset. And the kind of stuff I've heard, I probably would leave. If you're that willing to talk about me to somebody who you really don't know, then like how do you love me? So be careful with who you share with, be careful with who you talk with, be careful with who you take advice from. Like what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. When my best friend got married, I told him, I said, don't do what I do. I said, if you ask me, I'll tell you what works for me. I said, but it might not work for you. So, and it's true because you're not marrying the same person I'm marrying. You're not me. Like I can be an asshole.
Wow.
And my wife knows that. So she knows how to deal with me. But he's the most gentlest, one of the kindest people I know. I'm like, so what works for me that won't work for you. So be careful who you take advice from. Be careful who you listen to. That's pretty much it. This is
good. This is so good. I'm telling y'all. Listen, if you just tuned in, you're tuned in to Love Lessons. If you didn't get your pen and your paper, I encourage you to go back and watch this from the beginning again. There were so many gems that were dropped tonight from people. And again, they're not perfect, but they're perfect for each other.
Yes.
Their marriage is not perfect, but their marriage is perfect for them. And we have to stop looking at social media, celebrities talking about relationship goals, only to see these same celebrities 10 years down the line getting a divorce. You done bought their book, you done got their t-shirt, you done got a hat, and then you see these people and you're upset with them. You invested too much in them. You put them on a pedestal too much. So like Dee said, this is my marriage. What works for me ain't gonna work for you. You might say what I say to your wife and your wife might leave. So don't do that. So just know that your marriage is your marriage. What would you say to couples who are in the storm and ready to walk away? Just in the storm.
First, I would say pray. Pray. Like you have to seek God for direction on how to move forward. Because sometimes it's bigger than us, and flesh could have you messed up. So I would say just take a minute, pray, step back from the situation and talk. Again, I'm a big believer in when we're yelling at one another, we're not hearing what you have to say. So if you have to step aside and write down 5 things you want to discuss, and you write down 5 things you want to talk about and come back and revisit that later, whatever it takes, it can be worked through depending on what that storm is. Now, some storms, may come to destroy. So it depends on what that storm is. But if it's regular marital storms, finances, bills, don't let money ruin you. You have to have that kind of mutual understanding that, money is means to an end.
Yep.
But it's not the end and it's not the all. It's a resource. It's not the source.
Mm.
So, God is the
Somebody
source.
just hit a high 16. Is
Yeah.
she rapping? You got bars.
So you really have to be realistic with yourself and pray about the storms. Just don't be hot headed.
Storms, D. What would you say to a couple that's just
storms past? They come and they go. You're going to have them.
Yes.
I laugh when she said if you're arguing or yelling at each other. I laugh because Neat has never yelled. I don't know if I've ever heard her yell in the 23 years we've been married. She says she's yelled, but nah.
I ain't heard her yell either.
Yes, that tickled me. So
no, I don't yell. I'm not a yeller.
She's not a yeller. So but yeah, storms pass. It's always roughest as you're going through it. Like we've been through hell. You know what I'm saying? So
people don't know our story.
Yeah.
Some people do. Trey, because we're best friends, so it all. But people see us and they see the joy. Like when I post a picture on social media, it's true joy. Like I'm not faking, the happiness in my relationship. We truly love each other. We truly have been through some things, but our love always supersedes that, and we always make time to laugh. Always.
And the storm will make you stronger.
Yes.
Ooh.
Once you get through the storm and you've weathered it,
yes.
you realize, okay, we made it. We did that. And you realize, the next storm is going to be tougher. And for those who believe in prayer, be careful what you pray for.
Yes.
Oh.
Because like if you pray for patience, God is going to place something in your way to make you work that patience.
Woo!
So if you really be careful. If you really want it, He's going to put something there to make you work it, whatever it is that you're praying for. But storms don't last.
Storms don't last. And I think when you're in that storm together, you have to learn how to get through the storm together. So you could be in the storm and one person got this thought and you have this thought and you doing it this way and it's not working. So the storm is lasting longer. Come together and see how you can work through that storm. And that too builds strength in your marriage.
This was so going to stay longer, but we.
I know. One last thing I would say is
please
remember there's there's seasons, right? So we always say season, lifetime. Season's going to change, just like people are going to change. Fall, the leaves you're going to shed the dead leaves. Springtime is going to bloom. So your marriage is the same way. You're going to have time where it's the fall, the winter is dead. The spring, but it's up to us to revive those seasons. Each season, the spring, the summer. You have to make sure and put in the work to make sure that your seasons flourish, no matter what season you're in. It could be dead of winter, ain't a leaf on the tree, but me and Dee still loving each other. We still giggling, So whatever that season is, love is God, and love is at the helm of it all.
Is that right? Yes, the seasons of love. Lord,
you're getting too deep, but it's the truth.
It is.
Put it into
because like you go out in your backyard now in your garden with your plants. It's spring, and in the winter you have brought them in the house because you knew that the weather wasn't right for them. So now you out there cultivating them, and that is such a good analogy for marriage.
Yep.
In the storm in the winter, you got to take cover. You can't be outside like it's 90 degrees. You got to put on the right gear. Go ahead, girl. Y'all too. Listen, y'all and bless some people tonight. I just really have to say thank you to y'all, and I just want y'all
thank you for having us.
Thank y'all so much. This was so good, and I just learned a lot about y'all. And people don't understand that along your journey, y'all are not the same two people who met.
Oh no.
Who got married 18 years ago. Y'all are not the same two people. Y'all don't have the same temperament. Y'all don't have the same y'all have a different level of patience. Y'all know some things. You know what not to do, what not to say. Yes. And along the journey of any relationship, especially marriages and relationships, we punish people because we still judging them from who we thought they were 18 years ago.
Absolutely. You got to change.
That's what I just learned, y'all.
Yes. That is the truth.
We're not the same. We better, and we better together.
Are better. That's right.
Better we together. Matured. I love this so much. Give me your final thoughts on anything, the last thing that you want any couples listening, those who desire to be married in the storm, just people who are listening right now. What would be your final thought to them?
Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding.
I would say laugh through it, right?
Yeah.
Like we find the humor for us is how we get through. You know, we're both clowns, so
Yep.
we just laugh our way through it. You know, you got to find the funny and the not so funny sometimes. So you remember that, you know, don't take life too serious. Just love on each other and keep moving forward and find the humor. You know, humor is what helps for us.
Is what helps. D.
Yeah. I don't think too much I can add to that. You know, we are big clowns. We love to laugh and have fun. I love to talk about my friends. I love to have them talk about me. So if you're my friend, I've taken a picture of you and we've laughed at you at night. Yeah. You know, so if you do something stupid, we laughing at you. We love you, but we still laughing at you.
We just laugh. You know, we
enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We laugh every day.
I love it. Thank y'all so much. And if you just tuned in, you're tuned into Love Lessons. Thank you for tuning in to Love Lessons. Remember, happy spouse, happy house.
That's right.
See y'all next time. Peace and blessings.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.